all students in a class almost same. Now, that was more of our format. I think the new education policy talks about how do we foster and recognize the unique capability of every individual. While there are a lot of other foundational principles laid, two things were very fascinating me. One is the flexibility that gives to the learners, which means that you learn history, but you have interest over physics, you can still learn, which was not there as part of our earlier fundamental policies. And there is no hard separation among streams, and multidisciplinary is the one which is taken forward right from the school education level. We will focus on multidisciplines. It is not that we are a science student, math student, engineering student. You can still learn law, you can still learn sports, you can still learn some part of pharmacy, and you can still be a multi-dimensional individual. And of course, it speaks more of how we will emphasize on conceptual understanding, how we will talk, how we will emphasize on creativity and critical thinking and things like that. But when it comes to higher education, two or three things again were very much in line with what we are going to talk today. One is extensive use of technology. Whatever we speak today in higher education, whether it be teaching learning process, whether it be your research process, on the journal side, what you were speaking, and some questions came up in the earlier session. So all of the questions will be answered mostly by the extensive use of technology. Imagine there was a situation 10 years or 15 years back, if there was a situation where somebody will do a research, somebody would have joined a PhD, first year, second year, third year, 4 year. They will take 4-year time frame to complete their PhD. One of my known person faced this issue. During on his third year, when he was almost after completion of all his coursework, after doing all his surveys and things, he was a management student, by the way. So after completing everything, he was about to submit his thesis. He said, I'll take next 2 months to 3 months to submit the thesis. That time there was another PhD student who published almost in the same model. I'm talking about 10 years back. So then he had a lot of ambiguity. Then what will happen? It looks like then it will look like he's doing almost the same PhD. All this was because today we have something like Shuddh Ganga, or we have online repository of our research. So that wasn't there earlier. People will have to depend on manual processes. People have to depend on things to happen manually, even to this kind of very intellectual matters. Even though there were a lot of online summaries and citations, there were some libraries, but technically there was not much, they were not much stronger. So now I think the focus on extensive use of technology and focusing on outstanding research, focusing on multidisciplinary research, and speaking on a lot of things by keeping research in the front, even preparing a student for a research career. They were talking about a 4-year degree with the 4th year focusing on some research areas. Thereby, if somebody wants to pursue PhD, he will really come up with real knowledge on right from how to publish a paper, how to do his research process, and things like that. I think there are a lot of fundamental principles laid out in this national education policy, and I'm sure as an educator, you would have already read it. If you are an Indian educator, definitely would have read it. If you are educators from other countries, you should also read that to understand where India is progressing to move in 2030. So having said that, I have one presentation to share, because I don't want to, I'm just trying to, I'll get a presentation. Okay. Hope my presentation is visible to all of you. Okay. So today I'm going to deal with the topic of the future of higher education. While the national education policy emphasizes on a lot of things with very, very interesting format, and we are expected to work towards implementing that new education policy in the next 10 years through a lot of guidelines, frameworks that the government is going to release. But whatever the framework is going to come in, whatever the regulation authorities are going to get in, but these are the 9 trends that the future of higher education will have. And without these 9 trends, the national education policy will not be a reality. Second, irrespective of the national education policy, globally, these are the trends that will move the higher education in the next 10 years, specifically in this coming decade, before we get into the real implementation of the national education policy. And I'm sure, you're all aware, when the world witnessed the First World War, that was the huge enemy, invisible enemy for the human mankind. But after that, in 1917, there was a big Spanish flu, which unleashed a huge fear among the human. And again, most of you will know that Spanish flu killed almost 3 times of the people who died from the First World War, which means the mankind has always found ways to fight a battle and come out from that. I think that similar thing is happening today in COVID. But when COVID, people are fighting, we are fighting, the health workers are fighting against it, and definitely like the Spanish flu, the scientists are finding vaccines and things like that, and we are going to come out of it very soon. I think the results you would have all seen. But it's remarkable to see how this COVID-19 has triggered a huge difference in the education institutions, specifically with the teachers and students. While we took years for us to get into or inculcate the digital learning process, digital teaching learning process, this COVID situation of last 3 to 4 months have made education institution to change towards digital overnight. It didn't. We didn't take time of months or years to run this kind of online conference with experts from the different part of countries. With we have around 200 participants participating across the country, and experts from across the world. All this technology was existing even before COVID, but this COVID has triggered us to move things faster, and we had now seamlessly transformed towards their new normal, specifically the higher education's new normal. I think this is the starting point of what we are going to get prepared in the next 10 years. I think what is going to drive us towards this 2030? What is going to drive us towards implementing or achieving the 2030 new education policy or the national education policy is 3 things. One is the digital economy, which is already there in place. And I'm sure you know very well today, everything, including a typical restaurant menu or to what is happening in the corner shop in our place, everything has gone to internet, right from movies, right from banking, anything and everything you think is now internet based. And I'm sure our education has already moved into and digital, as how banking industry fully adopted the digital economy a few years back. I think last decade, if you take, the banking industry is one industry fully adopted to the digital economy. And I'm sure in this coming 10 years, the digital economy will be the strongest driving force of making the education to move towards the new normal, and which will make our new education policy much stronger. Second, now the emergence of machine economy. While we are teaching students, we are teaching people how to do things. Now the industry as well as researchers have started teaching machines what machines should do. Now, instead of people doing all the learning and doing things, now in 2030, there is already in 2020, it's already there. There is a strong possibility that machine will do things which we have been doing, which I think the emergence of artificial intelligence and machine learning and deep learning, which has now made a machine to deliver what we were doing, specifically whatever even the knowledge worker was doing. So should universities work with industry to develop talent among young people, or should university work with industry to focus on teaching machines? I think that is the next question, because the machine economy is sure to don't take in a strong way. The third driving force is the return of alumni. I'm sure you know what I mean by return of alumni. Today, whether you like it or not, all of us, we are professionals, we are working, all of us are with experience of several years. Still, we have to go back for learning newer things. Day in, day out, we are learning something new. Specifically, if you were touching the technology industry in some format. If you're teaching technology, if you're working in the area where technology plays a critical role, you have to live by learning every day. I think the lifelong learning will become a necessity, and no longer it is a comfort. And specifically, I'm sure global reports are saying by 2030, half of the working population, which is 50% of the global workforce, will work from home, which is already started. Again, the COVID has started that. Second, half of them will become a gig economy worker. Now, what do you mean by gig economy worker? It means you will be a freelancer. No, we will not be keen to no every day go to work like what we do today. No, we start from home, we drive, we go to work, spend 10 hours there, then again go back home. I think that model people will start disliking in the future. By 2030, half of the people will work in a very, very freelancing mode. So a new freelancing giant economy is expected in the future. So I'm sure every university, every Western university has already thought about this, that their students, those who have passed out, will come back to their universities to relearn, which is already happening. I'm sure you and me know. Now, even you wanted a course, now you go end up in Coursera or edX, and finally you take a course from some top university from across the globe. So which means we don't depend only on the workplace, we go back to universities to learn something new. If you are a proactive university, universities like Galgotia University and stronger universities and stronger educational institution, not just the university. By 2030, it is expected even every college will become autonomous, and every college will design their own courses. Every college will have autonomy to deliver learning services as they wish, is what they envisaged by the new education policy. In that time frame, you should be able to attract your students, those who have passed out, who may that means your alumni will come back to you for relearning, because lifelong learning will become the necessity. So it is not necessary you just focus on this 4 year, the new kids, and send them out. No, the future is going to be altogether different. I think keeping these three frameworks broadly in mind, these three driving forces are here to stay for the next 10 years, and it is going to drive the future. So now here we are identifying now 9 trends for higher education specifically, which will rule I would say rule, and also which will dominate the higher education in the next 10 years and way forward. So the first trend, I'm sure as the educator in India, if you were born in India, and if you have studied in India, and if you're teaching in India, definitely the power of the Guru-Shishya relationship that we have been having. Now, India, as a country for many centuries, we had focused on this Guru-Shishya culture, which means if you look at the past, even our all our stories and mythological books, if you read, it was all a 1+1, which is there is one guru and one shishya. The story was fully on that. So but that was a very, very strong fundamental way of looking at education. So at that point of time, if you look at a guru will have many shishyas, but the guru will focus on every single shishya, and he will work on a very individualized learning at his best. So if you look at today's national education policy, if you have read the fundamental principles of the new education policy, the first point talks about recognizing, identifying, and fostering the unique capabilities of each student. I think that was started several years back in India. If you remember our Mahabharat story, where the guru will identify and he will find the potential of every single student, for example Arjuna, and then he will make Arjuna perform well in his skills and capabilities. I think now that we have not left out our traditional methods. We are bringing it into the new education policy, but in a different format, in a different format. But that point of time, people were, the students were taught with the help of examples, and they were taught more on law and weaponry, and the classroom was more of open. It had a lot of advantages, but there were a lot of challenges, which you all know. But in 1000 BC, when India started higher education in the form of Takshila University, which you know, and that is the time when the nation started developing content. The teachers developed their own content and they started delivering. Again, it was in the college setup, but the teacher had the role of having complete autonomy in designing courses, and they were delivering courses. And based on the credentials given by the teacher, the student completed the course. And then passed on in 21st, in I think after 50th century, after 5th century, when the Nalanda University started, that's the time where a real institution setup of what we are using today is almost started. And subjects like science, arts, medicine, everything started. But the real change happened after the British rule in India, which when British started ruling India, and when industrial revolution came into huge play, I think the education was also looked into a kind of industrialization where the whole idea of assembling masses, a mass of students like raw material students come into a place called school or college, where students are a kind of raw material, and the teachers were the employees who were processing the students in a centrally located location, which is a school. In industrial world, it is a factory. And then finally, better students are formed as an outcome of that particular industrial revolution method. But that is the method that we follow even today. We make student go sit in classes, then they are processed on certain things, and then finally the end outcome is getting them skilled or employability or things like that. I think that we from this, now the future is going to be very different. In the past, whatever, the teacher was in the center, the teacher was like a kind of a god. People looked at, respected in every single aspect. I think the future, the relationship will not be the same, because the Guru Shishya culture is slowly changing to a facilitator role, which teacher will take forward. So we will see teacher act as a facilitator. Now he will tell, or the teacher will tell a student what is right and wrong, but end of the day, the student will decide. I think it is already started. Last few years, if you see the current generation students, it is already started that students decide on their own. They take some amount of guidance from teacher, and more importantly, the students are also now additionally looking at someone from industry or from someone from their own family side to act as facilitators in deciding on what they want to. I think here is the time where collaborative learning will take in a very, very strong way. As a teacher, when you go and talk to a student, you'll tell him, okay, can we do this jointly? I think just like how you work along with your research student, with your PhD scholar, you do more of a facilitation role, which means he comes with idea, then you give your inputs, he takes your inputs, then he goes back, works, and comes, and you clarify doubts. So you actually act as a facilitator role. You don't wear the teacher's hat there. So I'm sure most of the student teacher relationship will become in that model, and you will become a strong facilitator. And definitely, you should also remember, it will not be like the traditional goals in which the students work. Earlier days, student had some one goal to chase throughout their career or throughout their life. Here the situation is different. So goals will continuously be modified to prepare students for the ever-changing workplace. Today they talk about something, tomorrow they think something differently. So every time, in fact, they change a role. So that may need more facilitators, and every time he has to come back to a teacher. And I'm sure they're going to support it strongly by the technology. As you know, the cloud will carry everything. I think this is the time to be a facilitator. You should also understand the power of technology, which will help you to become the strong facilitator. So the Guru Shishya relationship changes is the first trend that we are seeing. And this is again, after a detailed research study with several thousands of teachers and few hundreds of policy makers, everybody accepted that this trend is going to be the way forward. And as a teacher, as a researcher, you should think that this is the kind of teaching, this is the kind of role as a facilitator that you will move forward. So there are certain action points that we would like to tell you here. Definitely, you should understand, when we talk about a facilitator, the guru will now become a friend and a mentor. We will talk about the mentor again in my last trend. So we will have to encourage teachers to embrace the new reality. If you're a teacher, you should understand, and we should understand this new reality. And definitely you should think about personalizing learning. As I told you from the first point of the new education policy, the personalized learning is what will happen in the future, and for which every single student has to be facilitated. Now, when I talk about personalized learning, you should remember, no, Dell computers, because they were the one to first tell, why should a keyboard be like this at all? No, I'm sitting in front of a computer. There's a keyboard with a set of keys. No, Q, you see, it starts with Q, W, E, R, T, Y. Imagine you are, you're a left-handy, and you wanted this key to be in a different format for your personalized way. You can always go back to Dell, and they will help you to redesign the keyboard. So it is not necessary that you stick to the keyboard which everyone uses. I think that is one example of how even a keyboard could be personalized. So I think the same model will now come in when you talk about the culture between teacher and student. And I'm sure there will be industry mentors. You should encourage that. And to be a strong facilitator, you should do a good facilitator role with some 5 students. That is the survey result which says. And only when you do for the minimal number of students, for being a mentor for 5 students, you will be able to do it very strongly. And I think when it is a one-on-one relationship, and when it is a one-on-one facilitation, that will open a lot of transparent communication and open communication between both of you, which will help both to know teacher, I mean a facilitator, to do his role well and become a mentor for that student, and the student will also make a better in the future. I think this is the first trend. So let me move on to the second trend. The second trend is the rise of self-learning. And I'm sure I don't need to talk about the past of self-learning, because at least in India, we have been used to self-learning in different formats. Today we are talking about, when we talk about self-learning, we are talking about digital. But otherwise, if you look at in our past, in fact, we had a equivalent to even engineering, a BE equivalent, which was AMIE, which was almost a self-learning. There was a model where there was an equivalent course to BE, which is AMIE, where you apply for the course, you get the books, you read it yourself, then you complete the course. You are as equal to a engineer who spends 4 years time frame in his college. I think we already have a good past of self-learning. If you look at all our distant education, in some format, it is self-learning model, right from I think for several hundred years we have been doing self-learning in different formats. But today, if you look at when we talk about self-learning, with all these new age technologies which has come, places like your Coursera or your edX or your Swayam, that gave lot of pumping in of lot of newer technologies and tools for students to learn something new every day, and that too they were able to access teaching, or we were able to access the best of the experts. Today we are able to learn learn from someone in Harvard, or someone from Australia, or I can learn some courses from IIT Delhi. I think this was the technology was adding power to self-learning by bringing in such kind of methods. So more than everything, it is interlinked with curiosity. When it comes to self-learning, you have to be curious of what you're going to learn, and you should be self motivated. Until otherwise you're self motivated, you will not do self-learning. And there are a lot of psychological things associated with self-learning, and definitely we have started. And I would like to quote an example here. As ICT Academy, we used to run something called Learnathon, where we partner with leading companies like Microsoft, Cisco, Intel, and all, and we make students to come learn online their courses, which are fundamental courses which are available at free of cost. Last year, every year when we run this Learnathon, we get some 10,000 to 12,000 students participate and complete courses. But during this COVID situation, now when we launched this Learnathon, you'll be surprised. We had 1,25,000 students joined these courses, and almost everybody completed at least 2 or 3 courses. Totally, 3.5 lakh of courses were learned in this particular period of 1 month. I mean, the Learnathon was for 1 month. So which means the students have adopted to the self-learning. They have now got into the culture of self-learning. I don't think this would have happened unless this kind of COVID situation. While COVID situation has a lot of challenges, that's exactly I mentioned. this has triggered education to move to a new culture overnight. I think the self-learning is in a very, very strong rise, and which is already seen, which is already witnessed, no, in the no form of all online courses that we are learning today. I'm sure your universities, your colleges, you're all doing no self-learning today, and you're encouraging students to do self-learning. So what is going to be the future? The future is definite. The internet will play a similar role of what the physical world is playing, except that it is in the cyberspace. Okay, so no, we must ensure we give support system to educator. We help them curate content, because it is going to be a gig economy. It is a freelancing economy. Everybody who can write will become an author. Everybody who can develop content can be a content provider, and everybody who can have a strong communication skill with basic amount of knowledge may become a online YouTube video generator. So it is the duty of a facilitator or as a teacher. We will have to now do a lot of work on curating the right amount of content, curating the right courses to know every single student, because when you are doing a facilitator role based on his interest, you will be now supporting him through curation of the right ones. And definitely, even today, courses like data science, AI, machine learning, all these are high running courses when it comes to self-learning. But you should also remember the new education policy as well as the future trends predict that in future at least 25% of our courses will go online, which means will go self-learning, because the next trend is closely associated with the concluding point of what we are going to talk in this particular segment, which is which we will speak in blended learning. But a huge portion of classes will move towards self-learning, and I think the first step what the government has already taken is by putting in all these MOOC platforms, the SWAYAM platforms, the content which is already generated, and many of the teachers have started preparing for creating self-learning content for students. And definitely we will have to remember one thing. We need to inculcate these two skills for students. One is a self-regulation and a self-motivation. I think those are the two things which are also a challenge when it comes to self-learning. But definitely the rise of self-learning is here to stay. For which the key takeaway is we will have to facilitate programs and critical thinking. Even if you look at the national education policy, it speaks about creativity and critical thinking as a foundational principle for every single student. Because see, once you need people to be self-motivated and self-regulated, and also they will have to identify right amount of content, and they will do self-learning, because the opportunity for self-learning will be very huge. So programs we will need to initially facilitate on critical thinking, thereby they make their decisions properly. Second, we should make student to create that curiosity, and we should make students ponder over ideas, question things. When you are doing all these things, it is indirectly you are making them to go back and do self-learning in a strong way. And definitely you can keep this point with you. 25% of courses will move self-learning, and I'm sure we will have to prepare for that. And universities will offer hundreds of courses on self-learning, which again all Western universities, Western universities have started. You go to you visit the website of any Western universities. Again, in this COVID situation, some universities say all of my courses are in self-learning model. Some say some percent, but definitely hundreds of courses will be available. And as there was one professor recently quoted in my university, if there are 10 students who are interested in one area, I'm willing to invest time, energy, and resource to build that as an online course for my student. But the critical point here when it comes to self-learning is we have to support in curating the information in the net, because the student will be misled, and there are a lot of chances that student don't get into the right quality of content or the right amount of content that you envisage. I think these are the 2 points which are the first 2 trends related to the future of higher education. The third but important is the coming age of blended learning. See, when it comes to self-learning, that doesn't mean that everything can be self-learned, because when in our context, the face-to-face model is the model which we have accumulated knowledge, and that's how all of us have learned, and we have built our skills and knowledge in the past. Historically, I think our model is the face-to-face model. And second, we do definitely understand the power of a teacher, a live class, which means it's like heart of the entire body. It is not no, your heart, your heart is definitely needed for the no body to function. So here comes the no blended learning model. So imagine no when I talk about blended learning, I wish to talk no about the past. Now in the past we have also used to it. No, there were some subjects we used to learn through a CD. No, if you remember, no, even the NPTEL used to give classes over a CD-ROMs or hard disks. We get that and we give it to our students, so we expect the student to go through those videos at home and come back. I think we had a past of some amount of blended learning, which means they will learn through the videos, then they will come back to your class. I think that's already started. And if you remember, some institutions like IIMs, ISBs, they had some recorded lectures of previous some expert teachers. The students are mandated to learn that watch those videos and then come back to class. I think in present, I think most of the at least the B schools, I definitely know they use the model of that flipped class. No, they say out of 100 hours, 32 hours let us do in class training, and some 60 hours we will do through some hours we'll do online, some hours you will self learn, some hours you will do some assignments. So the model of flipped class started strong with the business schools, and then over a period of time it picked up everywhere. So in present, I would say the blended model is already started again with many things putting together. One is face-to-face model. It is already there, and which will continue to exist. And there was a model of rotation. Student teachers rotate. Some subjects they attend with this teacher, some portion of the subject they attend from the other teacher. So all those context of flexibility was provided, and online lab came into picture. I think some subjects which you all know, they had online laboratory models. Some subjects very well, there were some simulator models, and definitely online helped us a lot to make sure this blended model is effectively implemented. I think the future is definitely going to be the blended learning model. And specifically in India, when you talk about there is a gap between industry and academia, I think blended model will bridge that gap specifically, because when we talk about the shortage of skill set, when we talk about the shortage of industry relevant knowledge, it is mostly because many institutions are located in rural. They don't have access to technology, they don't have access to industry and things like that. So now even the national education policy thinks about every single student who is completing a professional degree will complete with a kind of training in the industry, like your medicine. You complete your course, you still undergo a training for 1 year, then you get into a real practicing doctor. Whether it be a chartered accountancy, you practice you learn with the practitioner for a certain amount of time, and then you become a real chartered accountant. I think that model, if you read the professional development in the new education policy, it talks about that. I think when we are moving towards that kind of progressive model, the blended learning is going to help a lot. So imagine there will be you take any class. I think you'll have to understand every single subject will have the possibility of blended learning, starting with medicine or English or science or maths. Every single subject. Earlier we used to talk about only few subjects when it comes to blended model, but now we should remember it is not exclusively the self-learning. It is not exclusively video-based learning. It is a mix of all. Imagine there is a subject that somebody wants to teach for tomorrow. You will give a video class which they will go through the previous day, understand the nuances, and then come to your class. So when they come to your class, you will discuss topics in your live classes. Then you will tell the student, why don't you go and read this blog of this particular researcher on the topic to understand the current trend of the topic what you're talking today. So then he goes to a blog to read that. Then you will show him some experiments in the format of videos in YouTube. Then you will say there is a conceptual understanding that you will need to get. Why don't you read this 3 hours of content from the LMS, your university LMS? Then you will say, okay, there is a simulation of this particular program or a particular concept. Why don't you take a simulation here? Then finally, if there is a chance of going to lab, you will make him to land in the lab. So if you look at as a teacher, you will facilitate him to do 10 different things to make him understand or learn a concept. So this is what we mean as blended model. It is not just when you put a LMS and when you have a face-to-face model, it is blended. No, it is a multiple approaches coming together. So what you should do now, you will have to find a suitable learning model based on your subject, what you're teaching. So you will have to find a right model. You will have to get understanding from all the stakeholders of your subject, and you will have to implement a right learning management system. Definitely you have to curate content and use, and don't depend only on your own resources, because today the world is flat, and we can access educational resources everywhere, and we will have to build assessment techniques for each of the blended model that we create. And I'm sure this is going to be the future of higher education. So what we should remember is, if you are an education institution or if you're a teacher, you should remember you should invest your time, money, resources, and efforts in blended learning, right from thinking on how you will make your subject blended. No, I know very clear, very recently, one institution whom I work with, they are trying to make every of their subject. No, there are a lot of theory subject like history. No, there are a lot of theory subject like economics. They are trying to make blended model of learning. So don't worry whether this particular subject can be blended or not. Every subject today can be operated through this blended model. So please make sure that I would not say make sure, we will definitely have no drop in having classes in the stand up and deliver mode, because it is going to be blended. Universities and institutions will be training faculty members for it. I think the first step is doing all this digital teaching techniques training and making sure you develop content and things like that. And 75% of courses will be blended, which means out of as I mentioned in my earlier trend, 25% of courses will go into the mode of self-learning, but 75% of courses will become blended model, because that adds power to a student's learning. And we will be redesigning courses for the blended learning. Again, you can look at the new education policy. I think as we become autonomous, as every institution will enjoy the autonomy in 2030, I think the last point mentioned here takes a very stronger look by every single educational institution. So this is the third point on the trend, the third important trend. The fourth is related to the resources. Now, so far whatever I have mentioned is more on learning, and now the next 2 or 3 trends are related to the resources. I'm sure we all know the past of library. The library is a place where most of you, if you are a senior educator, I'm sure you know the power of library. I think one of the strongest place or resource place where all of us learned to some extent in our earlier days. But if you look at the trend in the recent past, at least the last few years, the people going to library has literally come down, and I'm sure you all know that. I need not tell you why has it come down. Because they have found an alternate. The entire generation who born in for example, say if we were born after 1980 or 1990, we wouldn't have gone to the bank. So for example, I have a bank account today with a bank. Right from opening a bank account or operating it for the last 4 to 5 years, I'm doing it without visiting the bank. So there was an alternate through technology which helped us not visiting the bank. So similarly, now there is one single small 5-inch gadget, which is our mobile phone, which is in our hand, to make the entire library, or I would not say library, the library of libraries get into our mobile phone. Even if I'm not willing to read page by page, I have an option to watch the same content in a video format or listen to the text in audio format. So I think that is the power. And secondly, I can do it 24/7. I can access my resource through my mobile phone while traveling to college, because most colleges are located in the remote parts, and every day I will have to travel 1 hour from my home, city, etc. So I better utilize my time. I think the power of the mobile is going to help a lot when it comes to library going digital. So when I say digital, don't think about that no typical digitization which has been happening. Because if you look at the past, if you look at the past, in the 1970s, some databases, the information resources have been built. I'm sure most of you have, will know about this ERIC database. ERIC database was the first to built, where all your researchers content was curated, and it was all database, which means there were citation indexed there and things like that, so that we were able to search there and then find which library has this particular document. Then we landed up to that particular library. So but if you look at the present now, with the amount of investment done by the government, most of the libraries have now become digital. And all if you look at our MHRD's National Digital Library project, or all individual institutions like TAFR or IIT Kharagpur, they've done a lot of work over digitization of libraries, and they were all very, very strong, notable achievement. I think another strong, significant achievement of the present is the Khan Academy. I'm sure you all know, as teachers, are aware about the strong strong fundamentals that Khan Academy created for most of us to think how libraries should be. It is not just the content of the text. It got in content from many of us. It poured it there, it curated, and then finally there is a video library available for all aspects. I think those are some of the models which emerged. But what will be the future? Now, as we step into the third decade of this of this 21st century, it is clear digital libraries will be the way forward. And imagine we will not have that loads of books. And I'm sure you've already started. All we have a smartphone, all we have an iPad or whatever. And forget the iPad. All we have a smartphone, which is not only acting as a library, which will act as a camera. It will act as a programming device and everything, and it will also help you to do some phone calls and things like that. I think that is the future. So the future device, or our existing device of mobile, becoming a full-fledged library. And also you should remember the digital content will come from anywhere from the world. So every university today, we say, no, we have got so many books, we have got so many journals. I think all those will go away. There will be a stage where library will be an entry point. Again, through digital, I enter into my college library, university library, but university's library will have access to the libraries across the globe. I'm sure some of you know that some large organizations like Google, and few institutions, few organizations like Microsoft are already building some universal library projects where they're trying to integrate all the libraries. I think once that is done, we can always expect such announcements in the future. So once that is done, you have connection of every single library. So you want to get a resource in form of book or video or text, you just get into that one single place and everything will be available. I think and it is as fast and as easy as it is just available in your hand. I think this digital mode will make sure our current libraries will become more of a place where we just sit and enjoy reading, not directly from the book, maybe from our gadgets. For which I'm sure you know very well, we have to build a community of online libraries where many governments and many organizations have already started, and our libraries will act as attractive reading rooms, as I mentioned. And library will be a multi-dimensional platform. It is not just going and looking at books. It is more idea generating place. It will nurture and kindle a lot of creativity and interest among the students. But again, finally, I again talk about this particular context of curating the content. Again, being the gig economy, every single writer, every single person who is capable to write will become an author. Everybody will publish books. Everybody will publish videos. It will be the role of institutions to curate them and validate them, which will be the real value that the library will provide to the student, because student will have access to everything. If you want a book on trigonometry, our institution library will curate and exactly tell this is the book you should read when it comes to this particular subject. So I think that kind of curation plays a very big role when we talk about digital libraries. The fifth strength, is the online labs and simulators. Again, this is nothing new, but you should expect something very big and new in the next 10 years. I think last 10 years, if you look, I mean, in our past, if you look at, now we have been using, some amount of simulator. Now, when imagine there was, when we were all in school, no, we were all in school. Now, if there was a physics or chemistry, lab, theory was happening, when we go to a lab and then when we find that, chemical equation is working through some mixing of some chemicals and things like that, we are very, very fascinated to see such kind of outcomes. But in schools at that point in time, we didn't have any kind of simulators. But over a period of time, if you look at last 10 years, I'm sure there were a lot of simulators which came into play. In fact, some industry, some specific examples I would like to quote, which has fully utilized this simulator in a very big way. Let me talk about a flying school. Now, if you were to join a flying school, you will not be directly given a you cannot get into the aircraft and you cannot get into the airstrip to fly a flight. Instead, you will have to go learn some basics, and you will be fully learning everything through a simulator. You have a in fact, I had visited one of the simulator ran by our Indian Navy. I had an opportunity to visit there. They had a simulator of huge aircraft. They had simulator of some ships and things like that. And you get to learn everything here. And finally, once you, I mean, I think almost 80% of the learning is done through simulator. Finally, you end up 20% for your real life learning. Then look at our typical car driving schools. Today, you don't directly get into a car driving. As small as that, as small as that. First 2-3 days, he will give you a car, a simulated car. It'll have all kind of screens with all traffic and things like that, and you'll have to drive. You'll have to drive. And once you get used to the simulator, then you get into the road and you drive. I think it is not just on these kind of examples. I would also talk about something on a stock market, because if you were teaching finance to your students and you want your students to embrace or understand how the stock market works, you can't expect them to go and pour some money and then try how stock market works. Instead, there are good number of simulators where you just put in the format of money, and you really don't spend money, but it's an example. You just put in. Even the government themselves have done, I think BSc themselves has done some simulators for people to learn on nuances. It will look like a real-time environment, so you get to know everything, and then finally you end up investing your money into the stock exchange. So all these were already existing. It is not something new. I think present condition, all these simulators were existing. I think the future is going to be something very different, right from every single subject. Right from every single subject. Earlier, I think the technology was powering to some extent. I think now with the advancement, what has happened in the IT technology, specifically something like this virtual reality, augmented reality, and this 3D modeling and things like that are now helping people to develop online laboratories and simulators for almost all subjects. Now you talk about history, it is not just learned through a paper. When we were in school, when we have to learn about Taj Mahal, all we understand by looking at the picture. Now the situation is different. There is some online lab which is made available on Taj Mahal, which means you physically get into a Taj Mahal. You see the place, you get to know every single part of Taj Mahal by going around the entire Taj Mahal virtually. And it is also complemented by the AR, VR glasses and things like that. We have VR headsets, so you just get the physical feel of getting into the Taj Mahal. So as subjects like history have also adopted or are starting to adopt technology on creation of online laboratory and simulator. This is just one example. Now you take any subject. I think computer science have already started the using of online labs. Earlier people used to develop, get software and load it into their computers for anything and everything they do. But today the situation is every day the software is changing. Today we talk about Oracle, tomorrow we talk about something else. Today we talk about Java, tomorrow we will talk about something else. Earlier we used to speak about COBOL, Pascal, etc. We are not even talking about that. So day in, day out, there is a change in technology in IT. So in such case, imagine we have to invest on all technology. Instead, there is somebody who is saying, I'll put on my whatever software is getting updated, let me have it in one computer or one infrastructure. You access those infrastructure wherever you are from. So that means, for example, all these Amazon clouds, or you take IBM cloud, or etc. They are all they give machine infrastructure as a service to you. So which means you need not invest. So online labs are available. They build labs for you and things like that. So online lab and simulator are here to stay. And with the advent of the stronger internet penetration among in the rural India, and just with the smartphone and the power of connectivity that we are enjoying today, and with the development of all these AR and VR side of technologies, definitely every subject is going to see a strong online lab and virtual lab, virtual simulators. So it is not necessary we will be investing on every single, we will be investing on developing such laboratories. There are hundreds of cottage industry, when I say cottage industry, lot of ethics, in the form of creating online laboratories, simulators have already started working. And I'm sure you're going to have hundreds of options when it comes to every single subject. You wanted an online lab on teaching about Taj Mahal, you will have some 100 vendors who will give you access to that, and it is going to be as small as they will give you at the lowest of the cost, because it will be available with multiple people. And please remember, we will have to continue to have both online and practical hands-on coexist, because end of the day, even I learn a lot of things over online on simulators. Finally I will have to get into and dirty my hands to really get the final skill. And during this the online lab and simulator, you may come across in many places a new concept called gamification. Now we are all keen, the curiosity of student or the curiosity of a learner is now kindled by a strong technological word called gamification, which means every time you do something, you earn something. It is as small as if I have to tell you a very, very basic example. If you have a kid at school, every time when they achieve something, the kid will be given a star. And the kid has to accumulate that star throughout the year, and finally, the class teacher will award him. He's the highest number of star holders. So this is a typical example of how somebody can be recognized. Actually, this is a model of gamification. So anything and everything you do, you may have an online lab, you will practice 100 times, you will get a lot of assessments, assignment, you will complete it, and then finally you get rewarded for everything. So there is some kind of gamification. So you stop somewhere, so some robot, there is a robotic process automation which will come and say, no, you have stopped it here, why don't you do it here? By doing this you will get this. So some kind of kindling of interest will happen through this new area called gamification. And I'm sure every single technology provider have adopted to this new mantra called gamification whenever it comes to self-learning, because that's more important. And finally, definitely VR and AR are the new things which will evolve in every single subject. And last point you should note there is, this will happen in every single subject. Whether we may be even surprised how this is going to happen in few subjects like maths and some languages, but definitely there are enough research, enough startups, and some even large organizations are working towards supporting education by doing online labs and simulators for every single subject. So we will have to get prepared for that. So the sixth trend is what we are doing today, exactly what we are doing today. Webinars will be the new meeting points. All your international conferences, symposiums, all your conclaves, whatever we were doing, I think webinars will be the new meeting points. This kind of 6 days of virtual faculty development program, we are just easily doing like this. We have transitioned ourselves to do webinars online. There are enough technology like this. I don't want to deal much into that, because we are already used to that. Only thing is, this will become new normal. Year after, people will not talk about there is I don't know to use Zoom, or I don't know to use this particular technology. And all of us, I think, we will move towards this trend very soon, because we have already moved. Half of them have already moved. So we will be already using web conference, video conference. So we were already doing all these things. But what will be for the future? So future is very clear. The government is taking enough measures to ensure high quality internet is available everywhere, which means live, seamless this kind of but delivery can happen through webinars. I'm sure this also gets access to the best of the people worldwide. It is not necessary for you to be a performer. You should be in city. For you to have access to a strongest resource in the globe, you should be in the city. You can be anywhere. I'm sure you can be anywhere to do this kind of webinars, and they can everybody can help you to build your own webinar. Second, you need not worry about your physical presence. No, even if you have some 50 people, you have some 100 people, you want to do some 1,000 people, I think enough tools and technologies are there. All you need to do is we have to embrace and understand this new technology on webinars. And I'm sure all your research conferences, your paper presentation, in fact, whatever we have been doing so far, now we have launched a fully online virtual conference. We are running 4 international research conferences on technology. Now you should know, if you get time, you should visit our website ictacademy.in to understand that 4 technology conferences, because recently all our ICT Academy journals were endorsed by UGC CARE, and all our technology journals are listed in UGC CARE list 1. So with that credit, we wanted to run a conference this year fully online, and it is slated to happen in the month of October. And everything we are going to do it using online. So there are hundreds of people who have submitted their papers. They will present online. Tutorials will happen online. Our keynotes will happen online. I think nothing is going to change other than no, I cannot touch you or you cannot touch me. I think rest all will continue. And there are companies, they are finding ways to create networking rooms, to create exhibition rooms, etc., etc. Whatever we were having physically when it comes to a conference, whether you were running it in your college or a university, or whether you were running it in hotels, whatever you had, I think all are now available online. And I'm sure we have to embrace that new reality. And please understand, the web will be our new meeting place, no doubt. Physical meeting, according to the if you have kids of very young generation, you should remember, they will think physical meeting is of the 20th century stuff. They will not even, many of them, if they are in school, they will not even know that physical meetings, physical conferences was there. So we can just get the best of the world-class teachers and speakers to any of your conferences. The biggest merit on this. And I'm sure with the current number of tools and technologies which are coming in developed by various vendors, you know very well, many people are giving it at a cost which is of a very, very small cost. I'm sure many will come today. You saw Reliance Jio launching their conference app, and they said, let me make it totally free. I think then Microsoft Teams said, no, for educators I will give you free. I think cost may not be an issue at all, because either it will be available at free of cost, because this is one another method, and or it may be available at a very, very small cost. So the 7th trend is anywhere, anytime examination. Again, let me quote back the National Education Policy, the New Education Policy 2020. It talks about 2 things. One is 4-year graduation need not be compulsory, which means somebody who thinks in first year, he decides, okay, let me quit my college. So he can complete his first year, get a certificate, and go out, and he can pursue what he wants. In second year, he decides, let me go out. So he will complete 2 years, and he will get his diploma, and he will go out. If he completes third year, he may get his UG, I mean the degree certificate, and he may go out. If he completes 4 year, he may get some more specialization either on research or something, and he may go out. Which means there is no rigid rule on when you can exit your graduation. Second, the government also says we should think about running examination twice a year. I think now the situation is, if you look at in our earlier days, we were examination is one area which is one of the most laborious process which the universities have been following. And even today many universities follow the same laborious method of conducting examination. And we are definite, we are predicting, I should say, by 2030, while the government regulation says twice a exam, except twice a year, modular format and things like that, the day will come where anywhere, anytime examination will be held. Just like how today you want to get yourself certified in one skill, you go to a center called some Prometric Center or somewhere, you just apply yourself and you just get your skill certified. You don't imagine you want to get a technology certificate. No, you want to get a Cisco certification on some networking, or you want to get some Microsoft certification on something. You don't wait for an examination date to be announced. You just go and apply. They will just give you a day. Either you will be going to a proctored center, or there may be a chance you apply. I mean, you do it from your home, and I'm sure that is already coming. I think that the paper pen based and centrally proctored model, sending question paper from one location, I think that will slowly go away, because everything will move digital. I think this is one big change which will happen in education. So imagine that there is a huge process this controller of examination will follow when it comes to examination. Imagine you are running a university with some 500 affiliated colleges. Imagine when you have to develop question paper. You have been sending question paper in four formats so that people need not copy, and it's a laborious process which every university must following. I think the situation in future will be the controller of examination will sit in his table. He will just, in a click of button, he will ensure everybody will get a question. When I say everybody, there is a chance that every single student will get a different question paper. No, it is just on a probability, right? If there are some 100 questions with 4 answers each, there can be jumbling of answers, jumbling of questions, which means the technology can deliver thousands of question papers with one single question paper. I mean, with one single input of a question paper preparer. So that's the power. So anytime, anywhere, examination is the way forward. And also, one question paper per student will be a reality in future. So how is it possible? I think technologically, I think people have started proving. Now there is enough robotic process automation technologies. There is enough image and video capturing methodologies, and I'm sure a lot of researchers know, if you are working in image and video processing, you also are aware a lot of universities have started using technologies which will not allow you to copy, which will not allow you to see here and there. And more than everything, many universities are now moving towards the open book exam. So you don't worry about all other aspects, right? So you don't worry about whether the student will copy, etc. Instead, if it is an open book exam, it is only you test them whether they know the concept, not whether they have whether they remember the concept. Instead, that's exactly the national education policy again says. From the bookish or the rotten form of learning, we are now trying to make him to think and exhibit what the skill or the learning he had made. Imagine, if you are a management student, say I am a management student, so I normally quote example in management. Now, if you ask, if the question is, what are the 4 P's of marketing? Immediately somebody can just look at the book and tell you. Instead, you say, no, now that you know 4 P's of marketing, I will give you this pen. Now, what will you implement? Well, how will you implement the 4 P's of marketing here? Tell me, explain me, how will you implement the 4 P's of marketing here? So then he will need to explain it and give a contextual understanding of what he has learned. He cannot copy it from anywhere. I think open book exam, it is already started in a lot of B schools, and that researchers and teachers are finding ways to develop open book exams for all the subjects. And I'm sure as it comes to anytime, anywhere examination, open book examination will be a way forward as a future of higher education. It's one of the strongest trend, and definitely all examinations will move online, and you can expect that. And there will be a day where we will get into centerless examination model, which means I just completed my module, I apply, I just get tested myself. Technology will take care of everything, and automating of evaluation, right from the essay type of questions, AI will help you to evaluate, which is already again done by even companies like TCS Ion have done with some technology where some amount of work is fully automated, very little amount of human intervention takes place in evaluation, and one candidate, one exam paper will be the goal. And I'm sure that if you're a technology person, you understand the power. Just with some 4 question paper, you can make it into several lakhs of question paper. It's a math, and I'm sure you will do. And every single university will invest necessary infrastructure on this digitization of examination, and also for real-time analytics. Definitely AI will power a lot on this trend. So the eighth trend among the 9 trends, eighth is getting hired to several jobs. Two things. One is getting hired. The way will change from what we were getting hired in the earlier days. Even this year, today we are helping or we are supporting Hexaway Technologies to hire freshers of this 2021 batch. If it was earlier days, though the placement officer would call the Hexaway guys, and Hexaway will physically go to the college and they will do call everybody to a class, hall. They will do a typical induction program about Hexaway. Then they will be given a online assessment. They will all move to the laboratory. They will take an online exam, proctored online exam. Then they will shortlist candidates. They will put them into different classroom. They will do a GD, and then they will shortlist. They will have a personal interview. 10 people will travel from Hexaway to your college. And that's a model which happened till last year. This year how it happens. This year I'm not talking about something which is not happened. I'm talking about something which is already happening. So Hexaware decided we will run. So we supported them in identifying right colleges as as ICT Academy. So imagine for example, say one university, Ajinkya DOA Patil of Pune was one of the college. So they informed to all the students, and every student applied online for the exam. And this was a kind of open book exam. Student then Hexaware didn't bother whether student will write from home or from college. It is assessing the skills and capabilities of students. They took care of how student will write the exam, and no students wrote the exam online, right, sitting at home, because your colleges are not open. They didn't come to college. So after the online examination, they said, okay, this many people are shortlisted. Then they are put into a coding because they're getting into the programming job. They again put into a coding test, which means a problem was given, they were expected to solve. Every single student had a different problem, maybe the same problem with different data sets or something like that. So every student had to crack. So again, that they gave a time, they opened up a question. In 3 hours, they said, no, you'll have to clock the answer, and they completed. So they, again, one level of filter happened, again, right, sitting at home. The third level, they called for a group discussion, just like this. They had some 10 students along with one moderator or a person from the HR who was just watching, and they did online group discussion. Then they shortlisted again, further shortlisted. Then they called for a personal interview in this model, where there were 1+1. They were doing it through Skype, and finally, they are now getting ready to give offer. So if you look at the entire process of the placement office has now changed. So everything is done between the student and the company. I think this is the new model of hiring, which has already started happening. And please note, many companies have found two things. One, they found working from home is as equal to working from office. Many companies, I would say many, specifically I'm talking about IT companies. I'm not talking about a production company or a manufacturing company where we will have to be physically present. When it comes to consulting organization, when it comes to IT companies, when it comes to KPOs, they've all identified, because they are the largest employers in our nation, right? Specifically for engineering institution, they are one of the largest employers, this service sector. So this IT industry is now thinking, why not work from home, be part of their way in which they will go forward. And among that, they've also found hiring remotely is also as good as or as easy as their regular model of hiring. And in fact, they are feeling much better because they need not travel. They can do many hiring it parallelly and things like that. So this I think this model of hiring is here to stay, and the future is going to be this. But the trend exactly not speaks about that. It does not speak about hiring, the hiring method. It talks about the future. People will be hired for several jobs, which means, again, the national education policy talks about, you don't worry, you don't stick to something that you learn, which means I can learn something in history, still I can do some, I can pursue my passion in music, which my university or institution will facilitate. I may be a medicine student, still I can do some portion in law, and I can try to do something which is not relevant to which means I can do multiple careers. I can have multiple options. I think that is the one what we see will be a big trend in the future. You may, just like how which we have already seen, right? I'm an accountant. I work as an accountant from morning to evening. And evening I go take my Uber taxi, and I'm a Uber driver. You go to US and you will find a lot of people like this. Now from morning to evening they will work, they will be a student, or they'll work in an IT company, and evening they will be a Uber driver. So which means driving is a different skill. Accountant is a different skill, but they coexist, which means every individual may do several jobs on the one side. On the other side, being a gig economy, every individual may not work with one single company, which I already told you. He may work with multiple companies. I have got a talent. No, for example, I have got a talent of processing invoices. I mean, I can do good financial work. So I may take up financial work for 5 companies. I may do 5 jobs at a time, and I may take data analysis of one company. So I may still be a data analyst. I may still be a financial consultant. So I think this kind of support from the gig economy will make people be hired for several jobs, and they may continue to do several jobs. And I'm sure the all technology will ensure it will support this model. And while hiring is going online, AI is also coming, artificial intelligence. I'm sure as I told you, tomorrow, once everything is open, when you go to a company for interview, they may say artificial intelligence will test your Sophia kind of robot, will test whether your your personality or your body language is good or not for this job. I think robot will play a role. I think now it's time to make our students to understand this new reality, and we will need to encourage them to have a strong social media presence, because when companies are hiring, they will also look into, we expect, they will also look into the social media profiling of every single student. And hiring may happen in different format, and we can take support of the alumni, because alumni are already there in the market, in the industry, and they can support us a lot. And please let us make the placement officer understand that the role is dramatically changed post COVID, I mean pre-COVID and post COVID. So we will need to make sure the role of placement officer will also undergo a big change. And definitely the world will have a lot of challenges for a student, but a lot of opportunities. So we will need to equip the students accordingly. So this is the 8th trend. So the 9th and last trend, which is again coming back to my first trend, I think the rise of mentor is the one which will come into a huge play in the future. Because when it is a very, very disruptive world, when I have a lot of choices of career, when the system itself allows me to pursue multiple options, and system allows me to take learn history and botany together. The system allows me to learn engineering and law together. So the system permits you. It gives all flexibility for you to prove. I mean, for a student to prove and use his unique capability to become a better citizen. I think that will also come with a bigger challenge, that a student should be guided well. So as a facilitator, when it comes to a teacher, you are a facilitator. You are helping him to you're working with him for at least some 3-4 years while he's in college. But after that, what happens? So typically now everybody will look at someone called mentor. Right at college level, they will look at you as a mentor, where you'll move from a facilitator role to a mentor. He will always look upon you, and according to us, the mentor is somebody who will be who is not a coach or is a teacher. He's more of a guide by the side. So he will help him understand. He will help the student understand. And he will also make sure he's available to a student anytime for any support system, both professional and personal support system. And I'm sure I need not tell you the power of a mentor. Even if you take the example of the current Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, he used to say, I get mentorship from the founder of iPhone. And today you have found our Bill Gates saying, on finance I get mentorship from our Warren Buffett. So if you look at even the big people, you talk about our sportsmen, our sportswomen, PV Sindhu. Imagine Gopi Chand was not there. She wouldn't have come out on her potential, and she wouldn't have won globally. So every winner, they understand the power of a mentor. But we should also understand the mentor need not be one person may have multiple mentors for multiple aspects. So I'm passionate about accounts, and also I'm passionate about a sport. So I may have multiple mentors in the future. And it is not necessary I have mentor within my home, or it is not necessary I have it near me. I think virtual mentoring will take a huge role now. You may have a mentor who is in your workplace. You will have a mentor who is elsewhere. He's in another country. He can still be a mentor for you. I think again, in India, in the past, right from our Mahabharata time, we have been having this culture of mentoring, and I'm sure we know the power of it. And today, again, with good amount of experience and a good connect with the industry, I think in this VUCA world, our students are already guided by a lot of industry mentors and a lot of teachers, you all. But in future, again, now please remember, the online mentoring will emerge in a big way, and both it will be a mix of both virtual and physical mentor. I know you will not be surprised. There will be new thing which will be called as e-mentoring, which will be available. And I'm sure which is already started, because many forums and organizations have started helping people to get mentors and get connected with them globally. And whenever Gen Z navigate across the world, they have multiple options. They want to change their goal every time. Whenever they change their goal, they want a new mentor. So I'm sure this will become a very, very strong area in which their future looks at. And the key takeaway is very clear. The mentor makes the difference between the winning and the finishing runner-up. I think that is the one, as I told you, he's a guide on the side. So I'm sure as a teacher, you should now think yourself as a mentor and support the student ecosystem in a stronger way. But at the same time, we should also realize it is not that I can mentor 50 students, 100 students whom I am responsible for. So we will need to build a community of mentors. I may be strong in something, I may not be strong in something, and student will pursue multiple things. So we will have to build a community of mentors. Specifically as an educator, you can encourage your alumni to step in as a mentor, because alumni can play a bigger role in mentoring students whom we are teaching today. So I'm sure that's the key here. So overall, these are the 9 trends which we see, which will shape and which will support in the next 10 years to get our NEP in a very, very strong way when it comes to 2030. I think this will be the future of higher education according to us. I mean, the trend of higher education which is changing. I would have touched only very, very broadly. But if you do some in-depth study on each of these points, you will understand the reality of what is the power behind each of those things when it comes to implementation. So finally, this is my last slide. All these will be possible and is possible with these 3 things which will happen. So as I told you, how those 3 things were acting as driving forces: the digital economy, the machine economy, and the return of alumni. These are the 3 things we call them as the temple of learning. One is the classroom environment will undergo a huge change. Now you should expect the classroom environment is not like earlier days. Number one, you may have a student who will just go with an iPad or a computer for a classroom. No, I think that's already kick-started. If you look at the NEP, it says even at a school level, some 15 days they are saying a student should not go, should not carry the bag. I think that's the first step. So your classroom may be different. The student may not have a single classroom. For one subject, he will go to one classroom. Next subject, he will go to other classroom. The classrooms may not be confined to a particular, this is second year BCA, second year B. That may not be there. It will be just a number. Some subject will happen. You will just go and sit in that class because you are interested in that class, or you have applied for that class. I think the classroom environment will definitely undergo a major change. Again, technology will, every classroom will be a technology-based classroom. We have to empower ourselves to use the technology-based classroom. Second, we may not develop everything on our own. Right from all the trends, whatever I mentioned, whether it be online labs, whether it be digital libraries, whether it be self-learning, whether it be blended learning, it is not necessary to develop, because we are a collaborative country. So there will be somebody in Tamil Nadu who will develop a good video on how to teach a particular thermodynamics concept, which may be used by Galgotes University. Galgotes University will develop something on simulating a particular example in mechanical, which they may give it to all institutions to offer. So I think partnership within departments, partnership within colleges in that vicinity, partnership with colleges across India, partnership with industry, both local and global, and partnership with governments, partnership with universities across the globe. I think that is the order of the day, because it is not necessary to develop. We have to only partner people and give and take. I think that model will be a key point, which will be a temple of learning for us. The third and most important, as again mentioned in the NEP, high-tech administration, right from your application to the institution to getting a graduation. I think this entire process, will be seamlessly, technology driven. No, there is no way an institution will survive, or no way an institution will be just like this. No, you today somebody comes to you and say, I'm running a bank, open an account, but we have not digitized. So will you allow them? No, you will say no to it, because you are used to a digitized bank. When it comes to banking industry, you expect them to have online application, you expect them to give you a digital online login, you expect them to give you no fund transfer facility, you expect them to give you online access to your transaction statement, you expect them to send a SMS whenever there is a transaction happens. Imagine if somebody comes to you and says, I will not have all these things, but still you open a bank account, you will not open it. No, you will never open, you will not be interested. I think the same model will come into play when it comes to an institution. Right from your application to the getting degrees, everything will become online. I think again that is re-emphasized, or I think triggered in this particular COVID situation. No, at least I know in southern states, where I am based out, government said no. The state government said you should not open colleges for admission. I mean, when I say admission, you should not make students come physically. You should make them apply online. So even government colleges, they opened up online applications. They did online counseling. They are doing online counseling for engineering. So they will give admission order right by student being at home. They need not come anywhere. They did not go out of home. And then they come to college. So everything is tracked until they go out of the college. So now we talk about academic credits when it comes to the national education policy. They want to create a bank of academic credits. So as you publish a paper, as you complete a certification, as you complete a course, you credit all your academic credentials there, and finally you have everything automated. I think high-tech administration is the thing which will happen, and you will have no choice. All these three things, again, let me tell you, you will have no choice. I think we will be getting it right from your research. Today, as I already mentioned, your Shuddh Ganga is already there. No, you can't escape. No, if you have done a research, it is there in Shuddh Ganga. If you have published a paper, it is there, in some databases or some indexing bodies. And imagine there is a journal which says, no, I will not have digital journal. I will give you only physical journal. Nobody wants it today. So very simple. So high-tech administration is one which will play a critical role in all of the aspects. I think these are some of the 9 guiding principles that we have laid out as the future of higher education. I can share the entire book that we have published on this entire 9 points. It's a detailed 60-page document which I will share it with Dr. Meenakshi Sharma, and I will be requesting her to give it to all the participants of today. So whatever I have briefed in detail, you can find very interesting book, and I wish you to read both national education policy and this book together, so you will embrace and you will appreciate what we are talking will be the reality. I think with that, let me conclude my session. It's already 12:40. If there is any questions, I can pick up, and then over to Meenakshi Sharma, Dr. Meenakshi Sharma.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was the outstanding presentation. We really get lots of information about what is the future scope of the education according to your experience. Every point you have to be elaborate. So if any participant can ask any question, kindly you have to write it on a chat box. One by one, I will read a question for you.
Okay.
Everyone is saying very informative and motivative session. That's really true. Your session is really very informative.
No, as I told you, I didn't get into depth of the topic of this entire virtual, because I saw the agenda. Every speaker is very solid, strong speaker in each domain. Let them get into deep dive into every single area of the conference. I mean, FDP. I thought let me do a broad level understanding.
Thank you, sir. I'll just wait for 1 minute. Someone give the questions, then I'll ask.
Sure.
Sir, there is a one Shilpa Vadva. She was asking, I want to know the side effects of this new technology in the terms of health and mental issue of students.
No, I don't we cannot leave that question, because that is definitely there. No, there. See, whenever you bring in something new, there are always two different school of thoughts. No, when people, we are all, embraced about the new technology and no new way of learning. There are definitely some challenges that too in the country like us will have to face, and we will have to mitigate that. Now imagine, people like those who are the physically challenged people are there, and government is working a separate. No, if you look at the NEP, government says we have pointed that no, we have considered those aspects, and we are working on a different aspect for them when it comes to technology based education. But I would not say no. When again, to put it in a very easier format, the facilitator as a teacher will play a little crucial role when it comes to mental issues. When you say mental issues, I think as a facilitator, we should guide them. That is the power of our teacher. I think health issues, definitely I would not be able to answer rightly, but mental issues already, one of the senior vice chancellor, he spoke to me when we were in a conference. He was telling there will be definitely some amount of mental issues when it comes to technology based learning, but that can be only supported by a teacher, teacher who will become a facilitator. I think health, I think, let's deal it separately. I may not be a right person to answer that question on health. Let me be, let me honestly tell, instead of not giving you a right answer.
Okay, sir, one more question. What about old teacher who are not computer
We have
savvy?
no choice. No, we have no choice. I think, no, we have no choice. We have to get into it. It is like, but don't worry, you will get into it. See, again, I will quote the bank employees. Now, 15 years back, when they started digitizing bank, I don't know whether you all know, they came out and made a strike for 3 or 4 days. They didn't open the bank. They said no, the bank should not be digitized. They came to the roads. And who are those? Those are the people, those who are all old age people. They said, no, we don't know computer. All our jobs will go away. If you are digitizing, what will happen? You know what happened? After that, government said, oh, no way, you have to digitize it. Not digitized. They got used to it. Today, there may be a 60-year-old, 57-year-old person who is working in the bank. You go and ask him to work without a computer for one day. Will he be able to do his job? He will not be able to. They embraced it. That initial issue was there in embracing the technology. But after some time, they understood the power of technology. So here also, I will tell you, the old teachers, initially they will have issue. But once they come to know, or once they get into an understanding of how to do digital teaching technique, according to me, it will be much easier for them. Imagine, very simple, madam. This
Yes.
same presentation, I have made it already and kept. I have used it for the third teaching. Let me consider this as a class. So if I'm an old teacher, I'm doing one-time exercise. I'm using the technology, or I'm using the PowerPoint presentation for 3 times. This itself is the biggest advantage for me. No, so as I become old, the technology will only supporting me more and more. But initially, I have to struggle. Initially, to get the nuances, I may have to take some effort to learn things and then get into this technology-based teaching. And for that, we have no choice today. Because the students have moved, colleges have moved, I cannot say I cannot move, no, as a teacher. Am I right, Dr. Meenakshi?
Yes, sir, absolutely right. Sir, one more question from Jyoti Malhotra. She is asking, what are the tools to equipment ourselves with the new technology? And are some courses?
There is a course. Even ICT Academy runs one course. So now I can now share. There is one course called CDTT, Certificate Course in Digital Teaching Techniques. Just Google it out, you will get it. ICT Academy CDTT. You either learn that course, or you look at the content and you learn from any Coursera or somewhere also. I don't mind. But there is a definite set of knowledge which is provided in that kind of courses. Our course is called CDTT, Certificate Course in Digital Teaching Techniques. It is available in ICT Academy. You just search for ICT Academy CDTT. I'll ask Anand, my colleague, to share that link with the chat participants.
Sir, there is one Dr. Indu Tyagi. She is asking, what do you suggest? How to set timetable for online teaching as we set for face-to-face teaching? What change we can make to do the optimized
No,
resource?
that is on individual decision, madam. I think you should initially think like a physical classroom. Initial. Now after that you can do all gamification stories. Today, to start with, you can exactly do like what you are doing a regular class. But only thing is, it is flexible. No, see, don't set a very hard and fast rule. See, the advantage what this online digital teaching gives us is the flexibility. Imagine you can still say, I will run a class between 7 and 8 p.m. in the evening. Why not? So I was a student in XLRA Jamshedpur. That time, no, we were supposed to stay in hostel. There was no choice of going home. There was one professor who will run a class midnight 11 o'clock. Midnight 11 to 12, we used to go to a class. Again, class is not a class. No, it was a kind of a place where we all assemble, and he cracks some case studies. So there is no rigid rule in this, right? You can make class as interesting as possible. So according to me, timetable, ideally you should not set timetable. You should go by you should go by your way in which you can motivate people to come to your class. See, just by telling class will start by 10 o'clock, if you expect everybody to come, no, it is not right. If you make a meaningful and interesting class pitch, even at 11 o'clock, people will be willing to come. It depends upon every teacher, madam. I would not give a general answer, madam. But to start with, you can make a typical timetable, and you can just try to replace the online few of the classes online, few of the classes in the online mode.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question. Did robot will replace the teacher, but robot don't have emotions? How
It
it
will
will work?
never. I think I got the
Yes.
question, madam. See, it will never. See, two things
Yes.
which, as a, that's the reason I told a teacher moving as a facilitator, moving as a mentor. Two things which will never, which a robot or Google can never give. One is the storytelling capability. Okay, if you want me to explain something, the same way your Google will not explain, or your robot will not explain. It will explain in the format what it has learned. Second, the empathy, and my shoulders are there, for my brother or my student to come. So that empathy will be not given by anybody, any machine. It will never replace a teacher at any point of time.
Okay.
And I'll just pick up that Shilpa madam's question. Even today's teacher need to learn, upskill every time. Answer is yes. That is the new world. If you look at one of the trend what I mentioned, not only for teaching, for the entire 2030 onwards, everybody will have it is not earlier. It was a comfort. No, it was on the comfort. Today it is not on the comfort. It is compelled. You have to learn, relearn, unlearn, learn, relearn, unlearn. Only then we survive. That includes for teachers.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, one last question. Many of the part India has no electricity, no internet. How will they join this teaching?
Even the national education policy, when they spoke about the digital, they've also very clearly written that enough and more steps will be taken towards that. If you have to tell in percent, more than 80% have already got it. Rest 20%, the government themselves said there is a challenge, but they are working on it. Now we are talking about a 10-year plan. We are not talking about tomorrow. We are talking about a 10-year plan, when everything gets implemented. And you start today. You can't wait for the 10th year to everything to get settled and then start. When we are starting today, definitely people teaching in Galgota University, or people teaching in D.O.A. Patil, or people teaching in Chennai, where we will not have that issues. And thanks to our Reliance Jio kind of telecom revolution, which has made almost everywhere, there is access to internet, and almost everywhere now the access to electricity is there. But definitely some parts the government is seriously working on that, and we should be positive on that. That will get clear.
That one more important question. How to become a nodal university in ICT Academy?
That our Mr. Anand Babu, who is head of Delhi NCR, will talk to you, ma'am. I know that. I'm sure I don't want to do this as a marketing session.
Okay, okay,
Because
sir.
there are a lot of participants, and ICT Academy is ICT Academy institutions can become members, and universities can become nodal universities. And I will ask our head of Delhi, Mr. Anand Babu, to talk to Dr. Balamuru.
Okay, either we have to talk to me or Bala sir.
Of course, ma'am. To you or Bala.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So, all dear participants, we will rejoin at 2 o'clock. There is another session. So, thank you so much. Once again, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Meenakshi Sharma. Thank you all the participants for your patient listening. You can write to me in the email ID what I mentioned. It is anbu@ictacademy.in. In case if there is anything I can help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.